Welcome back to another episode of the Off-Air Hustle. I'm your favorite cousin, your MC, your DJ, your host, all in three, all those things. Deona Hustle. Major shout out to NSPN. Big love to Esai. Lights looking great. Looking crystal clear. Been drinking my water. Cheers to that. And also shout out to the Shop Cigar Lounge. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to the KCK and go check it out. It's beautiful down here. All right, today I have a very special guest. I am excited to have her on the show. She's been featured on Hustle and Shine in the Morning. You've heard her all the time giving us free legal advice. She has been in this business for 17 years. So she is an expertise when it comes to her space, a thought leader, as some might say. She's also a licensed minister. And we're going to talk about how that even came about. So before you mention her name, you got to put two things. And that is Reverend Doctor. Please welcome Reverend Doctor and lawyer Stacy Shaw.
Wow, thank you. This is amazing. This is the first time I've ever been introduced as Reverend Doctor.
Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Praise God.
Well, I am excited to have you on here because you have a segment on Hustle and Shine in the Morning, and you had it previous years on Hot 103 Gems, and you also have a segment on KPRT where you do give free legal advice, and you also throw in some fun tidbits and just kind of encourage folks, and you give free legal advice. So throughout our conversation, I am going to hit you with some questions. It's just things that we want to know, because it's some things ready. You feel like you know, but until a lawyer breaks it down for you, you're like, I had no idea. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay. But before then, I want to start off with two things: an icebreaker and learning more about your personal journey. Okay. So this icebreaker is we got a remix for you. Okay. It's called Legal or Nah. Legal or Nah. Okay. Good. Okay. So I'm going to name out a couple things. Some are going to be ors, like this or that. Okay. Some are not going to have anything to do with legal or not. It's just going to be a couple of scenarios as well. Okay. I'm excited. Okay. First and foremost, would you prefer family law or traffic?
Ooh, family law is harder, but traffic I think is more widespread and I get to meet more people.
Really? Okay.
But definitely if I had to pick, traffic law.
Traffic law? Okay. Are you a night owl or early bird?
Both.
That's just like, I feel like every time I've reached out to you, you answered. Yeah. That's the one thing I can't say, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to text her. It's 9 o'clock. Like after like 8 o'clock, I don't like to text other adults, because I'm just like, this is gonna, like, you're probably asleep and I don't want to bother nobody. But you instantly was like, yeah, what's going on? Give me a call. Give me a ring. Absolutely. So I appreciate you always answering. KCK or KC Mo?
KC Mo. I don't know enough about KCK. I'm from Wichita, Kansas, so I was like Kansas. You. Okay. But I know more about KC Mo.
Okay. Now a part of our Legal or Nah segment. Okay. Pulling off in an argument with your kid in the car, and say you're in a situation where you're arguing with that other parent, and you pull off in the midst of that argument with the child. Is that legal or nah?
Depends. Is the child in the car seat? Is the child strapped in? See, this is why people don't like lawyers. We ask too many questions. So if you're pulling off and you don't have a custody agreement with that person, or if you do have a custody agreement or payment plan that's ordered, or not payment plan, parenting plan that's ordered by the court, and it's your turn to have custody, legal. If you are pulling off and it's their turn to have custody, according to the parenting plan that's in a court order, not legal. The child is not in a safety seat, or if he or she is not in a car seat, or you're pulling off in a reckless manner, not legal. So there's a lot of points to that. So
gray
it just
area.
Depends.
Got you. Ignoring a court date, is that legal or nah?
Nah. You finna get a warrant, okay? If it's a criminal case, you're probably gonna get a warrant. If it's a civil case like family law or like an order of protection or a lawsuit, then they could rule against you. So meaning that you just automatically lose if you don't go to court.
Got you, okay. Flashing your headlights to warn people about the police. Now, if the police see it, is this legal or not?
No one's ever asked me that. I think it's legal. Yeah. There's no law against flashing your lights. You could have been flashing your lights for anything. Yeah. Y'all talk too much when you talking to the police. I would never have admitted that. I'd have been like, you know what? I'm just making sure that they work. And I was making sure that they had their headlights on. I'm not going to tell everything.
Yeah. So say someone had a night out. They were out drinking, and maybe the car, they were in a parking lot, or maybe they were about to pull off the parking lot. and they fell asleep. They were drinking.
Okay.
But they're not in the midst of traffic.
Okay.
But they're, you know that they were asleep because they probably were drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping in your car after drinking, is that legal or not?
Depends. Mm-hmm. So this is, again, a lawyer thing. Mm-hmm. And I've actually had DUIs like this because we do we do practice DUI law. And so if the keys are in the ignition, illegal. Okay. And so if the car is turned on, also illegal. But say that the keys are not in the ignition. And this is super important. So if you're going to be intoxicated, make sure that it's in a parking lot and it's not in the middle of traffic. Okay. So if you're in a parking lot, you pull off. I always tell people, make sure you put your keys in your glove box. Because what will happen is when the officers come and approach the car because somebody has called them or something, one, the car is off.
Yeah.
Two, on their body cam, they see that when you roll down the window that you have to reach into another compartment to get your keys. They're not just on the seat. So you either want them in the glove box or you want them in that console because it clearly shows that the car is not able to be operated. That's what makes it legal.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. Bonus question for you.
Okay.
What's the most common mistake that people make that accidentally gets them in legal trouble? Now, I know that could be
stuff
so
themselves.
many things.
They talk too much to the police. Okay, you're trying to explain things. You want to be understood. When you are in a case or you're in a situation that could turn legal, shut up. Shut up talking.
Immediately.
Immediately. Stop saying stuff because I have people that come to me and the only evidence that they have against them is what they were saying. Okay. So anything that you say as a potential party to a case, either as a plaintiff or a defendant in a civil case or as a defendant in a criminal case, it's going to be able to be used against you. It's testimonial evidence. So you want to just be quiet. And a lot of people try to think that they are smarter than the system. And I'm not saying that you're not smart, but you ain't smarter than the system.
Right. Because you're not the first person to say this line or it's
today.
You're
not the first person today I'm going to talk to that's saying this exact same thing.
Yeah.
All right. So I always tell people it's really important to have wise counsel. All right. So when you're paying an attorney, most of what my job is to be a wise person. Okay, so more than going to court, I go to court maybe 1% of a case. Okay, so if I have a case that's been going on for 2 years, I might have gone to court like 3 times. But most of what I'm going to be doing is counseling you. Okay, what is the wisest, best thing? What is the least risky thing that is going to yield you the best results? So you always want to seek the advice of an attorney and make sure you listen to them. Okay, especially if they're wise. All right, so sometimes not everybody's wise, but if you're using your discernment and you're going with an attorney that you trust, because it's you and me against the world, baby.
Yeah.
When I'm your lawyer, it's me and you against your mama.
Yeah.
All right. It's me and you against everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have that type of relationship with your lawyer, make sure you get a lawyer that you do trust like that. Because when I'm telling you what to do, I'm expecting complete compliance.
Yeah. And honesty.
Right? Of course.
Yeah.
Don't be lying to your lawyer.
Because I've always told people it's a couple things you should never lie about. My biggest two, and I view people, if they do this, if they lie to these people, then you might be a bad person.
Okay.
My first is you're lying to the doctor. What you lying to your own doctor for?
Yeah.
That's a red flag.
Misdiagnosis all day.
Exactly. And then the other one is lying to your therapist. If you're lying to your therapist, who can really help you?
Yeah.
Like that's nobody, because you're lying to them, telling them other people are the problem and you're the problem. So those are the people, and the lawyer is the third thing I add to that is you're lying to your lawyer. That don't make no sense, because that makes it more difficult for you all when you're actually in the midst of, speaking on their behalf in court.
And I always know when you're lying.
That's a fact too. Because you guys know.
I already know because I've been doing it too much. And so one of the things that I tell people is that lawyers never lie. So people will come to me with false documents or they'll be lying. And I'll say, I have to operate from the truth.
Yeah.
I can present the truth in a light most favorable to you, but I cannot lie.
Yeah.
Because you are depending on my credibility with the court. So I don't play games with the court. I don't play games with the judge because they know when I come in front of them that I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be honest. Now, I am really good at presenting the truth in a light most favorable to you. But if we can't agree with what reality is, then I have no hope of building a foundation and building a case on a foundation for you. And so then, because it always proves out. So the truth is always going to come out. But then if I get blindsided by it, then, and I do not have a good poker face. So you can tell, like you can tell when something happens because my face is going to be jacked up.
Yeah.
All right. So if I'm blindsided, then I don't have enough time to prepare for all of the ins and outs.
Exactly. Yeah. So what led you into even studying law?
I wanted to be Janet Jackson and go on Star Search when I was in second grade. And I asked my mom to drive me to California so I could be on Star Search.
Okay.
And she said, well, you know, I understand that you want to be a singer and a performer, but
you can sing?
Show can't. I've got a gig on April 15th at Urban Restaurant.
Shout out to Urban.
Yeah, shout out to Urban.
Okay,
so I've got a gig there.
I'm going to start that conversation a little bit later. I'm going to put a pin in that.
I am one of the official singers for the VA hospital. I sing the national anthem and patriotic songs for all of their big events. So that's a weird flex. And she said, no, you can... Would you rather be a doctor or a lawyer? So I want to be Janet Jackson. Well, I understand that, but did you want to be a doctor or a lawyer? I said, okay, well, I'll be a lawyer. And when you're really young and impressionable, then you have this idea of your identity from a very young age. And then that just becomes what you're going to do. So after second grade, okay, what are you going to do when you grow up? I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so as you keep saying that as you're growing up, then that becomes embedded in who you are. And so I just kept going to school until one day I graduated from law school and they said I could take the bar exam. And then I was a lawyer.
Question that I've always wanted to ask a lawyer, because I hear it as a hot topic on TikTok.
Okay.
How many times did you have to take the bar?
First time.
Give me some.
So first time in Texas, first time in Missouri. And what was interesting is that you have the standardized bar prep. And our school gave us these scholarships to do this standardized bar prep. And 14 days before the Texas bar, which is 3 days, it's one of the hardest bars in the country, I could not answer a single question. I had to create my own bar study program. 14 days before the bar.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Passed the first time, baby. 14 days, 10 days for Missouri.
That's major.
And so what I learned from that is that you always have to trust yourself. Okay. So knowing what works for you and having confidence in your abilities, instead of always doing what other people tell you is what's good for you, has been my guiding light throughout my career and throughout my life, is staying true to who I am and what I know, the path that God has me on, and staying true to that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I hear so many different lawyers that are talking about they took the test 4, 5, 6 times. I mean, Kim Kardashian has went viral because in California, I believe that's where she's trying to pass the bar. And I heard they're also very tough in California, and she's failed several times. But I know I've always heard people say that they had to take it maybe at least 3 times in order to pass. So for you to pass on the first time, that speaks volumes. Well,
I actually taught test taking as a teaching assistant in law school.
Okay, so you had a little bit of edge to you going into it then, it sounds like.
Well, understanding what the test is and then understanding how you are going to interact with the questions is really important. So, I mean, if something don't work the first time, how you were studying, don't keep doing the same thing. Don't be afraid to step out of the box and try something different. So I'm always trying different stuff. So if this doesn't work, cool, I'm going to try something else.
Yeah. Now, I did read, according to the American Bar Association, that there is only, at least based on the stats of, I believe, last year and a half, there's only 5% of black attorneys in the United States.
I believe it.
How was your experience? Did that reflect anything in your experience that you were able to share?
Well, I went to 2 HBCUs. So that's the first thing that I loved about my story, is that I went to Thurgood Marshall School of Law. My sister also went to Texas Southern Thurgood Marshall School of Law. And so what that allowed us to do is to learn from people that looked like us. Okay, so it already set us up for a spirit of confidence and preparedness that coming from Black lawyers that are preparing other Black lawyers. It's just different. The vibe is just totally different. The support system is totally different. And so they were personally invested in us being successful. And so it's different if you're at a predominantly white institution where you may be one of few. Baby, we one of many. All right. So we had a lot of mentorship, a lot of personal investment from our professors. And I think that made a huge difference. And so coming out in the world as an attorney, my first boss was Donnell Smith. Okay. He's a lawyer in St. Louis, best criminal defense attorney in the
St.
state.
Louis.
Oh my gosh. If I get accused of murder right now, it's on videotape. Pay Donnell whatever he asks. Okay. I don't care. Pay him.
He's the one.
He's the one. He's going, man, he's the truth.
Is he from St. Louis? Do you know?
He's born and raised in St. Louis.
That's all I needed to know. I just need to know if he was from St. Louis before I, throw my L up real quick.
Okay, yeah, he's born and raised in St. Louis. He also went to Thurgood Marshall School of Law.
Gotcha.
And so when I cut my teeth, I was under the mentorship of a Black attorney. When I started my own practice, it was really interesting because I'm not from Kansas City. A lot of people don't know that I'd never even spent the night in Kansas City before I opened my practice here.
Really?
I was in Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah.
In Wichita, Kansas, I had left the firm in St. Louis and moved to Wichita and with my husband. Okay, my husband lived there. And I wasn't licensed in Kansas, and I was running out of money. I was like, man, I got to do something.
Right.
I'm finna go to the swap and shop or the flea market. I'm gonna go to the flea market, set up a little booth, and say I fix traffic tickets. So I went to the Super Flea. They didn't have any booths, so I had to
Here
go
in Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Where was it located?
I think it's off Independence Avenue or something.
Okay.
So, up
it
northeast.
is. I was gonna say, nah. Okay, I'm thinking. Oh yeah, you say Independence Ave. Okay, I was thinking about another place off State Ave. That's different. Okay.
No, it's not in Kansas City, Kansas. It's in Missouri.
Right. Okay.
And so I went to the Super Flea, and there was a podium in the concession area, and I taped a sign, a big banner that said Stacy Shaw, attorney at law. I fix traffic tickets, $99. And I have 50 business cards and some little red flyers little 4-up pieces of red piece of paper. And the very first day, someone hired me for a traffic ticket. I had never spent the night in Kansas City. I stayed in the Days Inn by Worlds of Fun with my mom. She paid for the gas.
$4.35.
$4.35. Okay. And so my mom paid for the gas money. I only had $315 to start my law practice.
Wow.
Then
That's
I
inspiring.
upgraded to Nate Swap and Shop.
Right.
And then I operated out of a tent.
Wow.
So a lot of times people think that you have to have something fancy to get started or you have to have a lot of money. All you got to have is a hustle and a dream, baby. Okay. And so, but coming to Kansas City, like starting from like nothing, I was surprised by how open people were, that they gave me a chance. But I did encounter racism as a Black woman.
Yeah.
I went up to Platte County, and my first associate that I ever had was, it was probably 4 or 5 months after I started practicing, and his name was Tom Dalton. And I was his first legal job. And I said, when I come up here, I always got to show my bar card. Look, I'm going to do a little experiment.
Yeah.
And so I said, go in front of me and don't say that you know me. And so he went in front of me. He had never been to Platte County. I'm his first legal job. This is his first day as a lawyer. Okay. And he went through the metal detector and it went off. And so the sheriff just says, oh, go. He's like, okay, well, I'm looking for this particular courtroom. He said, are you a lawyer? Yeah, well, it's on the second floor. So I'm finding my bar card. Now, I've been there several times. I'm this man's boss. Okay. And the sheriff said, can I see your bar card, ma'am? Now, I had been there before with other attorneys. I had been going for other cases. I'm in a suit too. And the white boy got to go through, no questions asked, the assumption, even though I am paying this man, senior attorney.
That's crazy.
Okay?
Yeah.
I had to show my bar card. And so I didn't go back to Platte County for months after that. I was just, I just couldn't believe it.
Either.
I was like, nah, you go up there because clearly you're a big man on campus up there. So there was a difference. There's an assumption when you are white they'll make an assumption. When you're male, they'll make an assumption. Even if you're a white woman, they will make an assumption. Yeah. But if you're black, then a lot of times there's some sort of box you got to check. So what I do right now, it doesn't bother me. I'm proud. Got my bar card in my wallet. Hi, sir. You want to see my bar card?
Right.
Not even on demand. I offer it. And so it used to be that it would upset me and I would avoid situations. Now I face it head on. Oh, you want to see my bar card? Yes, here it is, sir.
Right. And anything else?
Oh, yes, sir. Here it is. Yes, sir. Super excited. And so a lot of times it used to bother me, but now I don't let it bother me. Yeah. Okay, whatever. Oh, you want this hurdle? Great. Let's jump over that hurdle. What's the next hurdle?
Yeah.
What's the next hurdle?
Right. What else?
What else do you want me to do? And then you become bulletproof to people.
Yeah.
Once you start not letting people bother you, not letting people's opinions of you bother you, not letting them put you in a box, then they just back up off of you. And so, and then there's not this vulnerability and you don't have that chip on your shoulder because then it translates to your clients. Because I'm not here for myself. I'm here for my client. Yeah. I'm here for whatever it is that I need to say, whatever it is I need to do, because I know that I'm here for somebody else and I'm advocating and begging on their behalf. Yeah. That's what I'm going to do because that's what the job is. That's what the order of the day is. Yeah. So for me, I don't let racism bother me anymore.
Because you can't.
No. Because baby, I'm finna beat the brakes off of you. All right. Hopefully y'all racist in here. So it's like, oh my gosh, there goes Attorney Shaw.
Right. Right. They're
Here
like,
she is.
But the thing is, people are probably watching is like, oh, she's fiery. Like, I need to hire her. If I need somebody, because when you and I had a conversation, you was like, look, don't be nervous. But, you know, I'm a little bit aggressive in a positive manner. In a positive manner. Like you're fighting for your client, which is important because you don't want to have somebody on your team that's just like, oh, that's cool. Passive, you know what I mean?
No, you can't be passive. So I've got 2 points in a case. I am super agreeable and really nice at the beginning of the case because then I'm using my leverage with you. I'm using my goodwill so we can come to a resolution.
Absolutely.
Because every case is just a problem that 2 people are trying to solve. You may have a difference of opinion of something, but we're both trying to get a fair resolution to the case. Now, if we get crossways, okay.
And what does that mean?
Crossways, if you and I are either you're not being fair,
okay, gotcha.
Or then it comes to a point where we are on opposite sides of
Understood.
it. Then now razor blades and lemon juice all day.
Right. But you came in with that positive, hey, let's see what we can do here. But now it's getting to a point where it's like, okay, we clearly are not meeting in the middle. Now we got to do what we got to do.
Absolutely.
And make our case.
Then I'm absolutely aggressive and it is scorched earth. Absolutely not. I'm going all the points.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going into it. Now you're going to have to beg for forgiveness.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. So by the time I get here, so you even see how my voice changes a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So by the time I get there, it's like, I don't know what y'all did to my attorney. Why'd y'all make my attorney mad?
Y'all didn't have to take her there.
Yeah, so now it's like, you know what? I had a client, and he said, Stacy, I'm wanting to settle. I understand that your objective is to settle, but I'm not letting up. Right. Until they give you exactly what you want. That's it. And so then the opposing side said, you know what? We're giving in 100%, whatever it takes. Because I just kept filing. I said, nope, we're not letting up until you give him what he wants. And so in that case, it's still because my client wanted something fair. He didn't want something that was unfair or unreasonable. But sometimes if people are not being fair in the process, you got to punch them in the face.
Yeah. Preferably legally.
Oh, it's always going to be legal.
Right.
You know
right.
What
That's
saying?
what I'm just giving the context so everybody know. But of course, like always. Question for you. What laws do you assist with? Like as far as I know we talked about traffic law, family law. I know you've had a lot of experience in that too. Okay. What other kind of specialties and departments lies within that?
Well, right now we do primarily personal injury, traffic, and criminal.
Gotcha.
And so on a very limited basis, I'll take family law cases, but by and large, I'm taking a break from them. Yeah. Because it's so emotionally involved and taxing. Like I'm walking that whole process down. I'm living that process like with your child's mother or child's father. Yeah. A lot of it is emotional support, counseling. So I'm your halfway therapist or something like that. So because it's just so taxing, it takes so much out of me. I'm not taking any new family law cases, but we are really focusing on Black maternal health. So of course we do like
That's
car
big.
accidents and everything like that. But we're taking more cases where Black women have been affected by the disproportionate treatment of, well, not even just, they're just, you don't get the same.
Care.
It's a disparate treatment.
Yeah.
That's what it is. This disparate treatment of Black women versus any other type of women. And so you are much more likely to have adverse outcomes as a Black woman, fatalities, infant mortality when you're a Black woman because of, number one, doctors just don't listen to you.
That's terrible.
They don't take you seriously.
Yeah.
So
I've had that experience myself. My mom as well. We've talked about it actually here on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's so common. It's ridiculous.
So you really have to fight for yourself. You have got to be your own advocate. And a lot of times, because they don't listen to you, or they think that they know more about your body than the body that you've been in forever, that they make the wrong decisions, and it has catastrophic outcomes.
Absolutely. Now, with that, has that been hard to kind of prove? I recently saw, I don't know if you are in the Tyler Perry universe,
Okay.
but I watch a lot of his shows, and Sisters on BET, they actually, the latest season, one of the women, she had twins. One of her twins passed away because due to a racist doctor who was negligent. And it took them to the point where they forced another doctor to come in and help. That was the only reason why her life was saved and the other child's life was saved. But one child did pass away. So seeing that moment, and they're now suing on, and that's on the TV show, but that's something that's common, especially amongst Black women when it comes to pregnancies. Is that's just such a big issue, and I feel like it's kind of hard to prove that. Like top of mind, it's kind of like it's not concrete, because it's like, how are you? It's hard for them, because when you get into court, I would imagine they're like, well, how are you going to say if he said good morning or this and that? But your demeanor, your tone, and you lacking the urgency, to me, is the case. But has it been hard to actually put that on paper and show for it?
Well, what we do when we have a client that comes to us, we interview them over and over, not at the same session, but we interview them a lot. So we also have experts, so like OBGYNs that are experts in their field. Yeah. And so we're looking for certain lapses in shared decision making, or could the doctor have taken a more conservative treatment? Should they have taken a more aggressive treatment? And so when you're looking at getting ready for a case, especially something that is as fact specific as medical malpractice, and that's the area that we're in, is medical malpractice, which is a part of personal injury.
Gotcha.
It's all fact specific. And what I tell people is make sure that you're keeping your own documentation. Okay. So I went to the doctor, because your journal is actually evidence. Your testimony is evidence. The people that were with you, their testimony is also evidence.
Gotcha.
And so I always tell people, keep really, really good notes when you're going to the doctor. They have portals now, which I love when people communicate to the doctor through a portal. So it's in writing, and you ask a lot of questions. A lot of people just say, okay, you said it. No, I want to know why. Yeah. And even when I talk to my clients, okay, well, yeah, just whatever you say. Nope. I want to get it over with. Nope. That is the kiss of death with me. You say you just want to get it over with, sign yourself up for 2 more court dates, okay? Because we are not just getting it over with. Because a lot of people don't understand the process. And because I'm such an educator, I've been in the education sector of community education and legal issues for 15 years. That's why it's Stacy Shaw Knows the Law. Yeah. When you're talking about Stacy Shaw Knows the Law, it's because I was in a tent at the swap and shop answering legal questions.
And those are humble beginnings. I love that. Like very much humble beginnings.
The best ones.
Yeah,
the best ones are humble. Those are the best stories.
Because that was smart for you to even put up that sign. So I do love you sharing that story with us. I want to transition into traffic law.
Okay.
Now, a couple of questions. If your license is suspended, can you still drive to work or drive for emergencies?
If you want to go to jail. driving while suspended. Okay. And so it's driving while suspended or revoked. And a lot of people don't recognize that in these outlying counties, if you have 3 convictions for driving while suspended on your driving record, then they will charge you with a felony.
Okay.
So I have clients right now that are being charged with a felony because they were driving while their license was suspended to work. They had multiple convictions, and then they were driving in the wrong county and they got charged with a felony. Okay. So that's a really silly reason to have a felony on your record is driving. And so if it is for an emergency, take an Uber. Okay. So you can get a limited driving privilege. And that's through the Department of Revenue, or a restricted driving privilege if you have an alcohol suspension of some sort. But you do need to have some sort of privilege if you're going to be driving a car.
What's the most common reason you've seen people actually lose their rights to their license or their license is revoked?
Tickets, not showing up to court.
Gotcha.
And so that's a failure to appear suspension. Since there was a change in the law, they do what's called a lieu of bail hold, which means that you're not going to be able to renew your license until you get those tickets resolved. Gotcha. But if you just have old tickets, you say, I got this ticket in 2017. I got it in 20. It's right there. Okay. It's right there waiting for you. Okay. And it's still suspending your license.
But what type of tickets? Because I feel like when I was younger, I didn't have a real good perception of what type of tickets fell under. I got to take care of this. Are we talking tickets that you didn't parked parallel and the meter ran out downtown? Or we talking you were speeding? What type of tickets actually matter? That's honestly, I'm be honest with you. What tickets matter? Because that's what people are like, look, I can't take care of all of these, but what's the most important?
Okay, so if you don't pay your parking tickets, they finna put a boot on your car. Okay, so but you're not going to go to jail usually. You'll go to collections, and you might have a boot on your car.
Gotcha.
If you have a non-moving violation like plates, and you don't take care of it.
So your tags are expired.
So that would create a lieu of bail hold where you can't renew your license.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so that's that lieu of bail hold. Not all jurisdictions or courts do it, but I know Raytown will be quick to put a lieu of bail hold on you. Okay,
you don't
pay it in. Oh, yes.
Okay, I will not be
Them
in
and Grandview. Okay, so, but a moving violation like speeding, failure to yield, an accident ticket, driving while suspended, no insurance. If you don't take care of those tickets, then that would be a lieu of bail hold as well. Or it will be a warrant. Or if you just pay it without an attorney, then you can get your license revoked because they'll put points on your license.
Okay, got you. Now, what's one thing people say during a traffic stop that instantly makes things worse?
I am traveling and I don't have to give you my license.
Really?
Every time I see that, I'm a traveler. I'm a sovereign citizen. I've never seen that end well. In any of the Facebook videos, I've never seen it end well. Because in the state of Missouri, if you are driving a vehicle, doesn't matter if you're traveling or otherwise, you are required by the state of Missouri to have a valid license and for your car to be insured. And so once you start off contention with an officer, I don't ever see it go well, because officers, you have to realize, they are people like anybody else. They may have a bad day. They may have just gotten cussed out. And so sometimes that patience is limited. All right. So you don't want to get caught up in that. All right. So if they're asking you for your license, give the license, have your insurance ready. I've gotten pulled over so many times. And every time, if I get pulled over, I'm getting that ticket and I'm probably going to be on probation. Like, the prosecutors just give me probation, especially in Independence. They have me on probation like 2-3 years in a row. Every time I get off, I get pulled over again, back on probation. Oh my goodness. And then after that, I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired of being on probation. So I haven't gotten a ticket since then.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's great. Because there's certain areas, like in St. Louis, at least we know certain areas not to travel.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Certain areas, like, you're going to get pulled over. Like St. Anne in St. Louis, you're going to get pulled over instantly. For sure. So if your tags are expired, hit a U-turn. You don't need to be nowhere near there. Same thing possibly in Clayton in St. Louis. And so I see different areas. I haven't got pulled over much in my life. Honestly, it was only twice, and they all were in Kansas City. I've never been pulled over in St. Louis myself, but that's because I be in and out. I'm not finna be posted up too long. But it's certain areas that I always hear people say, don't linger too long, because then police be ready to pull you over
For sure.
in a heartbeat.
That used to be a major source of revenue for cities until Ferguson. And so people don't realize the impact of protests and activism because the protesters in Ferguson, it took 13 months, between 13 and 18 months to totally change the law in Missouri, where it used to be predatory traffic ticketing. And so people would all these officers would be pulling people over, getting their license suspended. And so activists said, we're going to do away with that. Now, if you go to traffic court in Kansas City, for an amendment, it is maxed at $225. It used to be they were charging
way more.
Oh my gosh!
Because I was a kid, so when well, I was finna say in Ferguson, what part of time? Like what time?
So after Michael Brown died.
Okay, and so 2015 is my senior year in St. Louis at my high school, and our high school was the closest to Ferguson.
Okay.
So we did our own little protests, and we did our own things too to just support that whole street, because Lucas and Hunt, West Florissant were the closest high school right there. So we used to do some different things too. And so I remember it was a lot of things happening, but I wasn't privy to that part because I was a kid. And so we knew that was going on. And like I mentioned, St. Louis culture is common. It's so many municipalities in St. Louis that you'll leave one area and then get pulled over again.
Yeah.
Or get pulled over. You think you're making it out. Now it's Hazelwood police coming out.
Yeah.
Now it's the Florissant police. So it's so many. That's why we talk about that a lot in St. Louis as it's cops circling. They're like sharks. So that's interesting that you mentioned that.
And there were some municipalities that shut down, like Randolph Municipal Court shut down. They had too much of their revenue from the city coming from traffic tickets. So there was a state law that changed the ability for a city to get so much of their revenue from traffic tickets.
Wow. So that ended up changing everything in Missouri.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so what she did as a high school student, that mattered.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that their little part, their voice speaking up, the ordinary things that people do as ordinary people, when we come together and do them, extraordinary things can happen. Yeah. So I love protesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I got 2 bullhorns in my basement right now, ready to go.
Bullhorns is hilarious. I protested when it was all probably like freshman year of high school, not high school, college, when I first came here. And there was a protest at the Midland Theater because it was a certain guy that was there, and he didn't speak for nothing but hate. And so we all were there. This is probably 2015 or 16. And they had the horses down. It was literally at, like I said, I think it was the Midland because the Constantinos was right there. Yeah. They had horses. The officers was on horses. And that was the first time I ever got maced. Yeah. Well, I think that's the second time. First time was because Kansas City won the World Series. Okay. And that was 2015. That was my welcome to Kansas City.
And you got maced.
Yeah, because we was out kicking it freshman. Okay. We 18. We don't know. They were just like, let's go to Power and Light. And we're like, let's go. And I guess the police was ready for the party to be over. So they just sprayed the whole street.
Okay. So that culture of Kansas City, thank God, has changed. So after the George Floyd protests, that whole policing culture changed where, how they engage protesters, because it used to be that was common, that you were going to get maced in your face. I've been maced in my face. Once, I think I was maced in my face, but I was tear gassed a couple of times, arrested a couple of times.
Oh, you was really out here protesting.
Ooh! Over 60 protests.
Wow, really? See, Stacy Shaw is for the people. I love that.
For the people.
Have you ever had a moment where you didn't agree with someone who could have been a potential client, or you maybe felt like they were on the wrong side of history or the law, and you decided to not take a case?
Absolutely.
Really?
That's why I work for myself. The first case that I had to take when I was working as an associate under Donnell Smith was a child molestation case. And I didn't agree with it. And I asked, well, I don't want to take it. He said, no. The reason why I'm having you take this case is that everyone deserves a competent attorney as an American. That is your constitutional right to have a competent attorney represent you. And it's not our job to decide if they're right or wrong. It's our job
to represent them.
To represent them to the best of our ability. And because I was really good, the evidence was overwhelming. I mean, there was DNA evidence, but he got the least possible sentence. And because I was really good at my job and really good at arguing, I didn't feel like it was just. The child was very young. The child was under 10 years old. The details were kind of graphic. And
Wow.
because I was so good at my job, he got less time than I think that he should have. And sometimes, like, if you're so good, I mean, there was a case where I did so good that someone that may or may not have should have gotten off, not guilty all charges. And then I said, you know what? If you're too good at your job as a criminal defense attorney, then justice may not be done.
Served, yeah.
And so I only take cases that I really believe in. I only take clients that I really like, because people don't know I wear cowboy boots to court with family law.
I remember you told me that.
Okay, and it's a real deal because I'm ready to fight.
Yeah.
And I've had to be in a situation where it's me and the client. When I tell you it's me and my client against the world, if I got to fight, then it's on. Yeah. That's why I got my stomping boots on. So whatever, I might have to fight my way out of it.
You're prepared.
I'm prepared.
Yeah.
And so I only take clients that I believe in, cases that I believe in, and clients that I like, because it's me and you against the world. Ain't nobody gonna talk bad about you. Nobody's gonna come for you. You're under my protection. As long as I'm your lawyer, ain't nothing happening to you. And so, but you know what? I can't. Right there.
There you go.
And so, and I stand on that. That's why I've been in practice for myself. So I have the autonomy to take cases that I believe in and take cases that I think that I can bring people justice with.
Yeah, I love that. You have a lot of passion behind you too. And I got one last question, and I actually want to talk to that passion.
Okay.
Is it ever okay to mention that you took someone to court? Like, I know in my head, it's like if people say, oh, I had to sign an NDA, or maybe a part of an agreement was we can't talk about this. Is it a bad look for you to mention things that happen in the courtroom detail wise, or maybe you just mention outside and say, oh yeah, I did take so-and-so to court for X, Y, and Z?
So if you have a non-disclosure agreement, which is an NDA, then it's going to be very specific as a part of that contractual agreement that you speak about things, yes or no. So there are some cases that I've been a part of that I had to sign an NDA because the settlement was so good. They're like, you can't even mention you settled.
Right.
You can't mention that you were ever here. You can't mention how much money it was.
Yeah.
You can't even mention our name. And so because it's a contractual agreement, you do have to abide by it, or they can sue you. Okay, so it's really important. Now, if you don't have an NDA, speak your truth. All right, so me, I'm always bound by client confidentiality. So anything that my clients tell me, I can't tell anybody.
Of course.
Okay,
so, but the clients have the ability, unless there's an NDA put in place into that specific case, they can speak about the case.
Yeah, they can speak about the case, but make sure you don't say nothing that's going to get you arrested.
Yeah. Well, that's important.
That's important.
Don't get yourself arrested, please. Now, I mentioned it earlier that you have a segment on, of course, Hot 103 Jams, Hustle and Shine in the Morning, that every Tuesday at 7:38 and 7:50.
Yes.
And then you also have a segment over on KPRT. Now, one thing I love about you giving the free legal advice weekly is, one, it's been carved into people's brains, because even when I mention it, people be like, oh, wait, the Stacy Shaw that's on y'all morning shows. And when I mention your name all the time, there's correlation instantly. And the other thing I love about it is when you do your segments, you always drop some tidbits, say, hey, come on down to my church, or hey, this is a scripture, I want to drop this off for you today. And I actually had a friend a while ago who mentioned to me that you dropped a scripture on a day when she really needed it, and it meant something to her.
Oh my God.
So I just want to mention that to you. But since you have that passion behind you, and you also have the minister in front of you, I want to talk a little bit about that. What led you to even, was it a course? What's the process to become a minister?
Okay, so there's two parts. So I'm a Baptist minister. So first you're going to get licensed. So you, if you've been called to ministry, so God called me to ministry. I declare that to
you sound like my mom. I need to call her on the phone.
Yeah. So if you've been called to ministry, then you declare that. And then I have like 3 full pastors. So I was talking to Pastor Kevin, who is on who's the pastor for Lean On Me Ministries, and is an associate pastor at Forest Avenue Baptist Church. Okay. And I told him I was called to ministry, and he said, I'll ordain you. And so Pastor Kais Bethia is an associate pastor, well, now executive pastor at Morgan Street Baptist Church in Boonville. And so she was part of that conversation. She said, I'll ordain you. And so the senior pastor, Carl Thomas at Morgan Street, he said, well, you know what? I'm the senior pastor. I'll ordain you too. So now I've got like
I love that.
10 people on my ordination committee. And so you declare that you've been called to preach the gospel. Then you give your first sermon. And so my first sermon was on Palm Sunday. And then they issue you your license as a minister. You're licensed to preach the gospel. And then as a separate part, you go through an ordination process. And so my ordination process has 10 pastors and ministers on it. And as a part of that, I've got on-the-job training. So I go down to Boonville and preach. I'll be preaching on May 17th at Pleasant Green Missionary Baptist Church. Senior pastor Tony Gray is on my ordination team. And so I'll be preaching at his church. And then through that process, you have a lot of learning. So there's a lot of education that goes into it. But also you're preparing. There's a lot of praying, a lot of studying. And then there is now Pastor Sheldon Gray said, oh, it's a 4 to 6 hour interview. Oral test. Where they question you for 4 to 6 hours. 10 pastors. Goodness. 4 to 6 hours,
Oh my.
Okay. And so, then after that 4 to 6,
a sip of this water on that note.
I was like, okay, only 4 to 6 hours. It can be 8. Do I get a snack? Only 10 pastors? Okay, come on.
Right. Do you get a snack in between? Do you get a break?
Hopefully I get a sip of water.
Yeah, you probably had that. Yeah.
So after that 4 to 6 hours, because sometimes it's a brief examination, like I've been to ordination ceremonies where it's 30 minutes to an hour. And then your ordination committee or your catechization, I mean, I've heard so many different things, so I don't even know if that's the right word. Catechizing,
to somebody on the outside, it sounds good to me.
Sound good to me too. All of them. So the ordination team, then they take a vote, and if they deem you worthy to be ordained, then you are ordained as a minister.
Got
so
you. Okay.
it's sometimes
and you're currently licensed.
I'm currently licensed.
Okay. And when will you be ordained?
Well, hopefully,
we're gonna speak it into existence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, sometime in June or July.
Okay. Well, early congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Has there been a case or just something in your life that had left you realizing how much God is real?
Absolutely. So, from a young age, so I have had a very religious mother. Okay. So, we grew up Catholic and very, very devout. As soon as she passed away, she was on the super freeway to heaven, immediate escalator, okay? VIP pass. All right. So she was just a model of Christianity, just a model mother, a model woman. She was so devout and committed. She did a lot of community service. And that's where I get my love of community service. And my love of going to church is from my mom. But I realized that the Holy Spirit and God was real, like not in a theoretical, theological sense, but in a very temporal sense. So like you can touch it, you can experience it one-on-one. I had a case where I was in front of Judge Dale Youngs. Okay. And if any lawyer out there knows Judge Dale Youngs, he just retired. He was a very strict judge, never changed his mind.
Gotcha.
Okay, once he said you was going to jail, you better hand your keys over.
Right.
You finna go. All right, so I had a probation revocation case, and his procedure was he would take the lawyers, the probation officers, and the prosecutors back into his chambers, and they would deliberate. So we would argue, don't put him in jail. Give him another chance.
Yeah, of course.
And so I went through the whole thing, and he said, you know what? Your client's getting remanded today. Go ahead and prepare him. So I go and talk to my client. You need to be prepared to be remanded because the judge has already made the decision. We're going to go and make a record. And a record is just going on the record so that the proceeding can be recorded. And so he says, oh, I just had a baby and all this stuff. I said, I already gave that argument to the judge. I was pleading, I was begging, and I'm good at begging. Okay, so, but he didn't care. You're going to jail today. So make sure your fiance comes and picks up your car. And So we go, I make the arguments on the record, and the client says, well, could I say something? I said, well, I don't advise, but it's your case. Go ahead, because whatever's you're being revoked. It's already done.
Right, so go ahead.
Yeah, can't hurt. And so usually clients never talk, okay? So he says whatever he says. He's got a job. He has this newborn baby. And in my mind, I say, in the name of Jesus. And I said it in my mind, okay? And as soon as I say it, not a nanosecond later, the judge looks like that, turns his head to the side and blinks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did I say that out loud? I'm like, no, I know I didn't say nothing out loud. Okay, I said it in my brain. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I said that prayer, he kind of looked to the side and blinked and said, Attorney Shaw can tell you I never changed my mind. But something is making me want to give you another chance.
Wow.
I said, oh, my Lord. Okay, you know what? I started crying. And I remember because it wasn't audible and it wasn't complicated. In the name of Jesus, 5 words that I said in my brain, nobody could hear me. And I saw an instant change. And because I had regular secular experience with this judge. Remember, I've been in front of this judge multiple times. This judge never changes his mind. I had done everything that I could do as a lawyer. The only thing that I could do for this particular person was to pray for them. And the outcome was already decided, but the only thing that was different was that I said a simple prayer in the name of Jesus, and the entire situation turned around instantly. And so I'm getting chills even thinking about it, because it was the first time that I had prayed for something. Because sometimes you pray for something and maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't. And I had never witnessed anything so instant and so real when I had prior experience. I would say it should have been the opposite.
Oh, that's moving. Yeah,
it's
and
real.
I'm sure it felt like a movie scene. That's what I'm thinking of. Like it felt like a Suits, because I watch Suits.
I love Boston Legal.
I haven't seen that yet. I'm gonna watch.
Ooh, it's so good.
If you say it's good, then it must be good. So I'm gonna watch it.
Yes,
because I've watched plenty of lawyer shows, or like All Rise was really good. I watched that, and that was only on for a short period of time. And I was we also got a chance to see the judge's perspective and all of that. So that sounds very interesting. But it definitely sounds like I can hear why you said getting goosebumps.
Yeah,
because I can imagine being in that room and that happening, especially when you know the judge and know they strict.
Yeah.
And then something just happens to turn around. So that's good. Have you stayed in contact with that client since then?
I've had so many.
You have so many. Yes,
so many other instances that this has happened. I remember what he looks like. I can't even remember his name because God has been so good to my clients, over and over and over. I can tell you this story 20 different times that this has particularly happened. Yeah. Because I make it a point to pray over my cases, pray over my clients.
I love that.
Because even though I'm always going to show up and do my job, there's just something in the blood, something in the Holy Spirit that has always made a difference.
Yeah, it's not gonna hurt.
Cases.
It's not gonna hurt.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I still, even when I host stuff and do things that I've done thousands of times at this point, I still throw up a prayer. I text my mom and my grandmother and be like, hey, can y'all send me up a prayer? I'm about to go do X, Y, and Z. So I still kind of stick to that. Sometimes I forget, but most of the times I'm like, oh yeah, let me.
You covered. You got to pray, mama, praying grandma.
I do. Yeah. So
for sure.
But yeah, putting up a prayer never hurts. So I love that portion. Question, a couple random questions.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's a couple things that people just like, I never thought about that. If someone was ever interested in sending someone a cease and desist, I asked this because there was a popular actor, and he's also a producer, named Christian Keys.
Okay.
And so he writes several different things. If I showed you a picture of him, you say, oh, I might have seen this man before. He has a popular show called All Queen's Men. Okay. That Eva Marcille acts on. Now, have you seen him ever? Hold on.
No. And this is how I have time to do so many different things. I've seen this man.
You've seen him before.
Okay,
yes. So he's been in a lot of films, specifically black films. Anyways, he directs this project. And so he was sent a cease and desist because he decided to get on his social media maybe a few months back, and he was just talking about the upcoming season of his show. Okay. And he said, unfortunately, one of the actors won't be coming back, and he ended up kind of giving a little bit too much information. And he said, the one actor named him, and he said he's not coming back because he was high on my set.
Was it true? What's he on the set?
Well, so we don't know, of course. So we're just the people that's just hearing about it. So he said, he's like, no, I kicked him off the show because he keeps coming up to the set high.
Okay.
So he, of course, named the guy. And in the response, that guy then, a couple days later, sent him a cease and desist. Now, what grounds do people have to even put that out there? Do you need a recording of someone talking about you in a negative manner? Is it only if they're publicly saying it? What realms? I know that's a loaded question.
No, it's not, because a cease and desist is just that. It's a letter telling somebody to stop.
Stop talking about
Cease and desist. Okay. So that's all it is. But you don't want it to be toothless. So if I tell you that I'm going to do something, if I'm sending you a cease and desist letter and you don't do it, then I know in the background that I have the basis to sue you.
Gotcha.
So a cease and desist letter would usually say,
it sounds like
stop
a pre-lawsuit.
Yeah, it's a pre-lawsuit.
Gotcha.
It's giving us a chance for you to stop what you're doing, because whatever they're doing might be harmful to you in some sort of way. And then you say, okay, well, if you don't do this, I'm going to do that.
Gotcha.
But you better be ready to do that. Okay? So I'm Action Jackson, baby. Okay? If I tell you that if you don't do this, I'm going to do that, then I'm just going to go ahead and do that.
What's a misconception that people have with lawyers?
That we're dishonest and we're greedy. Okay, so most people, when they go to law school, we're going because we have this idea of justice and we want to help people and we want to save the world and we want to change laws.
Right.
There's always some sort of justice reason why people will go to law school. And so they may have had a family member that was incarcerated or a family member that was a victim. And they say, I want to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else. Or they had someone's life impacted by a legal or civil or criminal issue, whatever the case is. Most people get into law because they want to help people.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, because becoming a lawyer is expensive, and there's a lot of time, effort, energy, resources that are put into being a lawyer, we have to charge. Okay. And so people may not understand, like, my billable rate is $350 an hour. But in that $350 an hour, I would have spent countless of thousands of dollars, countless hours researching. So like I can just go off rip and tell you all of these different things.
Yeah.
That's because I'm a subject matter expert in a few things.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've spent decades of my life dedicated to researching, learning, showing up for people and getting the experience to be able to give you wise advice. And so I don't do law for money. This is something that if I could, I'd do it for free.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I do it for free.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, and it's been a big sacrifice for me to stay in the space where most of my clients are low income and working class people. Okay. So by and large, most of my clients are going to be people that just barely make the cutoff not to have legal aid. And that's been intentional since the first time I took a traffic ticket. The median price for traffic tickets, people are charging anywhere between $75 and $250 for the same ticket. When I came on the scene, I said, you know what? $100 is something that I could do. It's something that will cover my expenses and that anybody can find $100 to have a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I stayed with that. Also, people saying, okay, well, so I know I'm not greedy because I help people and sometimes at a loss.
Yeah.
And also that lawyers are liars. I will terminate your case. You asked me to lie for you.
Yeah.
Ain't
nobody finna do that. Y'all tripping asking somebody to do that. That's crazy.
So, because when I go in front of a judge, like I had court today. Today's like a really crazy day. I started off at court. I went and talked to some students in the lunchroom at Northeast High School.
Heavy on the community.
Oh my gosh. Then I had to go to the grocery store to prepare to cook a meal for one of the ladies at my church, whose husband is having some health issues. So I'm cooking dinner for her. So I was marinating the chicken, cut up all the vegetables. Now, after that, I got to leave and go do that and then cook that, deliver that meal. Then I've got to go to class at Western Baptist Bible College.
Oh, you rolling.
Today I'm rolling.
You rolling.
And so I have a level of credibility with judges because when I showed up to court today, even though there was a motion on file, I didn't file it. The previous counsel had filed it. when I looked at it, it didn't include all the facts.
Mm.
Now, I would have included all the facts. And so when I stood in front of the judge, I said, well, you know what? Judge, the record's clear. My client has absconded for 7 years. My client didn't do what she was supposed to. But let me tell you what you don't know about my client.
Yeah.
Okay? She's a mom. She has a husband. She goes to work. She works hard.
Yeah.
And what I'm afraid of, because I'm a chaplain at Raven House, is that this particular case, if you take this probation away from her, it's going to follow her forever.
Yeah.
And look what she's done with her life for the last 7 years. She hasn't gotten any more trouble.
Yeah.
She hasn't gotten arrested. She has, even though she didn't go to a probation officer, she's been supervised by the community judge because she has shown up and done what she was supposed to.
I like that.
So you talking about community supervision?
Yeah.
We've been supervising her.
You're right.
And so the judge said, you know what, Attorney Shaw? I was like, okay, well, you don't have to say yes or no right now.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do this? Instead of you making a decision whether you're going to take this probation away from her, why don't you just let her out on a bond? So then that will give me an opportunity to make sure she goes and talks to her probation officer and to make sure that the restitution for the case is paid and this fine is paid. You know what? That's why we got to get her out of jail, Judge, today. You know what I'm saying? And right now, it's a $10,000 bond. Why don't we do this?
Right.
Could you give her
Offering
$1,000
a solution.
bond? Yeah, could we give her $1,000 bond with $100 so she could just post $100 to the court? Could you do that? Well, and then the other people say, oh, well, you know what? They're wanting discharge. Judge, I'm not asking for discharge today.
Right.
I'm wanting her to come into compliance with what you previously said.
Yeah.
Because we're not trying to hide anything. And so it's like, you wore me down.
Yeah.
Attorney Shaw, you wore me down.
Yeah.
They let her out with a signature bond.
Oh, I love that.
Even better than what I asked for. And so if I don't have that level of credibility, if I don't have that level of integrity where I'm not playing any games, but I am highlighting the truth in a light most favorable to you,
Yeah.
that's how you get real results for clients. That's how you're able to hold your head up. And people say, oh, well, how can you? I sleep like a baby. I'll sleep in this trail right now. I can lay on this table, go to sleep right now within 3 minutes. I just count down. 10, 9, I'm asleep. I have no problem sleeping because when I show up with integrity. I show up with honesty, and I demand my clients do too.
Absolutely.
Because remember, my
Set
job.
the tone. So it has to be followed.
Yeah,
That's
I'm a
simple.
moral and ethical counselor. So even if you want to do wrong, I don't let you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
And
why
people-
I tell lawyers, you are not doing a good job as a lawyer if you are allowing your client to be unethical. If you are allowing your client to not be fair, you're not doing your job.
Yeah. And advocating and holding them accountable, each client, and treating them fairly sounds like what's important. It sounds like you do that with a lot of passion, which is great.
Man, if you're not changed as a result of being my client, especially in family law, like if you're not a better person, a better father, a better co-parent, then I haven't done my job. Because it's not just about giving you what you want. It's in wisdom, understanding what is going to be the best outcome for your family. And helping you through the process of getting whatever that best result is. And sometimes it's what you wanted when you came in. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm able to help you understand a better solution than even what you wanted for yourself.
That's real. Wow.
Hallelujah.
I love that. I feel like that's the perfect place to put a pin in it. Because your passion is coming out. Before you leave real quick, you add some tiny tidbits on Hustle and Shine in the Morning for your Stacy Shaw Knows the Law segment.
Okay.
Drop maybe a couple words of wisdom to us, because I know you just kind of did, but is there any more that you would like to drop us?
Well, recognize the glory of God in yourself. Okay. A lot of people are always looking for superficial things. They're always looking for the next purse, the next car, the next BBL or whatever. But God made you amazing just like you are. God has put so much purpose into you, even though you might not realize it, even though people might have told you that you weren't going to amount to this or you were never going to do that. You are only alive right now because there is a purpose to your life. And God has given you everything that you need to walk in that purpose if you start realizing God's glory in yourself. And so not only recognizing that glory, giving yourself permission to be amazing, but also forgiving yourself. Okay, so a lot of times people are saying, well, I could never do that, or I've made too many mistakes. God has never given up on you. God has never left you. And anything that you have done, even the mistakes that you've made, all of the things that are preparing you for that testimony, even when people are in jail, I said some of the best letters came from jail. Okay, when you're talking about, so people don't always read the letters from jail that are the epistles.
Them Leavenworth pieces of mail.
Yeah, so they never read those in the Bible. And then, but if you read the whole thing through, it'll say, you know what? Tell them to bring me my cloak. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So, there is so much promise and purpose in your life, and that even the things that you think are a mistake and the things that you did that you think are falling short and make you unredeemable, God was always walking with you through that valley. You could be prepared for your testimony.
Absolutely.
Okay, so every single thing, all the mistakes, people would not believe some of the things that I've gone through and some of the things that I've done in my life. They're like, that ain't you.
I don't believe that.
That ain't you. I don't believe that about you. Oh, you should. Okay, I got street cred for a reason, baby. Okay, I can walk in the
boots
in the 30s, 40s, and 50s by myself for a reason, baby, because I ain't afraid of nothing. I have a testimony. Yeah. All right, so, but Amen. I realized the power of that testimony because it prepared me for my purpose. So not only realizing the glory of God in yourself, giving yourself permission to be amazing and fabulous in whoever God made you to be, even if other people don't agree with it. And the last thing, forgiving yourself and not staying stuck in the past, because all of it was for your glory and for God's glory.
Well, amen to that. If I can drop this mic, I would. We don't want to do that. Esai might hop over this table. We don't want no issues. Well, Stacy, I want to say thank you. Early congratulations on you becoming that ordained minister.
Thank you.
Which you shall. And just thank you for giving us free legal advice and walking us through a lot of things that we just had no idea about. And then, of course, opening up about your journey and all of that. So we do appreciate you sharing with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a blessed rest of your day.
Okay. And walk in God's blessings.
Period.